one of the most important things when I work with anxious people is being able to identify, because there's physiological anxiety, then there's psychological anxiety.
Any solution that we have to health is really is a trade-off of one versus the other.
They're trying to calm themselves down, and it's not working because it's not a mental psychological thing. It's a biochemical thing.
Tyler, finally you're on the pod. A year and a half after we met, I think.
I know. I think we're coming up on, I think around a year or so, right? Yeah. Definitely time flies, right?
Yeah.
But hey, let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
And I'm really excited to shift some perspectives,
One thing that Brian
add
Johnson
some knowledge.
One good thing that Brian Johnson did is get us together. So, but I had all these questions prepared, and then off air you told me that you're launching a new module or a new program for. Okay, I'll let you. I'm not going to butcher it. So I have a whole new slew of questions, but maybe start by telling me what you're launching.
Yeah. So I guess let's take it from the top, just, my background. So my background's in pharmacology, PhD scientist. I did work on a lot of neuropharmacology, so anxiety, depression, multiple sclerosis research, as well as my thesis work was on breast cancer metastasis, which involved a lot of extracellular matrix work. So even though I'm not, in the cosmetic space, right? We all know that ECM, right? Whether it's cancer, it's all the same.
Not only that, you're right. I don't know if you know, but Anastasia's was about liver fibrosis. So you're, I think, one step closer to skincare than she was in the beginning.
So, and really got interested in genetics. Always really loved supplements, making my own pre-workout powders, selling that in sketchy little bags in college and stuff, right? Just how you can just change how you feel with these natural things. So I've always been really natural first. And I was on the track to be an immunotherapy scientist. So, genetically modifying mice, extracting the tumors, doing those types of things. And now on the longevity side, how do we see how we could stop those cancer cells from spreading? And again, I did a lot of focus on MMPs, matrix metalloproteinases, how they're chewing through the ECM, how cancer cells do that differently. But I got my 23andMe done. This was probably 7-8 years ago. And I've always struggled with a lot of overthinking, really sensitive person. I could get very excited. I could also get very stressed and overwhelmed with things. Was able to avoid going on anxiety medications by looking at my genetics and some targeted supplementation around my genetic weak points. So long story short, did that for friends and family, got on social media, didn't really know where that was going to go as I was working at a genetics company, more cancer-based things, and started working with people one-on-one, building hyper-personalized supplement, diet, lifestyle protocols. And that really, took off doing it my way, really merging the nuanced supplement pharmacology, which we'll touch on. And that's the biggest missing piece, if you ask me, not just in genetics, but in the online, holistic health space, because I love supplements, but it's the Wild West, right? There's not a lot of real education or regulation. So work with people one-on-one now, and just really like giving totally unbiased supplement information. We could dive into some here, and, I have no horse in any race. I don't own my own supplement company, not yet at least. And it's like these molecules, they're not good or bad. They just do things in the body. And what's good for my body for that supplement, maybe not good for your body. So teaching people how to make the right decisions for themselves.
I think, the problem, first of all, the longevity conversation as a whole, and more so biohacking, is really male driven. It's not about even even our conversations around like skin health. They might be predominantly purchased by women, or they acted upon by women, right? But the whether it is like the heads of those companies for that matter, or even like what is getting focused on is very male oriented. And it always almost goes to baseline where there is a breakthrough, for lack of a better word, where people are starting to notice that women should be part of the conversation, and then it goes back to the kind of male oriented focus. And the reason I think one of the characteristics of that is that there is less conversation around trade-off and more about solution, where obviously the common adage is that you don't have drugs don't have side effects, they just have effects, right? They just have the effects. Some of the effects are the ones that you want, some other ones are the ones that you don't want. But really, any solution that we have to health is really that is a trade-off of one versus the other. Talking about skincare, the paradigm for the last 30 years of clinical result-oriented skincare was, hey, just press the pedal to the metal as far as like cellular turnover, but you're getting people who have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, having other issues. You talked about MMPs that chew up the skin, or the skin's inability to create the correct proteins, hyaluronic acid, etc., where the skins become thinner, more bruised more easily, etc., more rigid, etc. So there's always trade-off, and I believe that's a nuance that the entire industry just isn't aware of until the N of one experiment that they are is aware of it, right?
No, absolutely, and you're absolutely right. Every supplements are just like, to me, well, let me put it this way. A drug by definition is anything that alters physiology. So with that definition, that magnesium supplement you took to calm you down, that's a drug.
Yeah.
That Young Goose product you put on your skin and improve your skin, that's a drug. Like the way I look at of course, you can't compare magnesium to like an Ambien, right? Like there's different levels to it, right? But at that fundamental level, I view even food as a drug, because these are all things that alter our physiology. So it's about understanding every supplement or drug does multiple things, like you mentioned, multiple mechanisms, so that's why something may be good for me, but not good for you. And again, it's, on the bottles for these things, you read the benefits, it's marketing, right? Business is business, right? But it's like, you're not going to read about, an example I like to give is curcumin, right?
Yeah.
Curcumin is so well studied. There's data for helping with skin, whether it's topical, oral, but what else does curcumin do? Curcumin is also an iron and copper chelator. So if you're low on those, it can make you a lot worse. It also, and this can kind of tie into the program I was telling you about, one of the enzymes in the brain that breaks down neurotransmitters. It's called MAOA. That gets blocked by curcumin. So in studies, you'll read, it helps with depression because it's raising your neurotransmitters. Well, if you're someone
almost
like me,
almost like an SSRI would be like a.
Well, exactly. So the SSRI, that's once you release the serotonin, it prevents it from being sucked back into the brain cells. This, it'll let it get sucked back in, but it won't be broken down as well. But it also affects adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. So that's why they feel different. But if you're someone that's sensitive, more of an overthinker like myself, my brain will rev up. I will feel like my heart will start to increase. I'll be more sensitive, more reactive. And if people have genetic issues in that same protein, so I already don't break down these molecules, these neurotransmitters as well. So that could be linked to things like overthinking, anxiety, aggression in some people. So someone will take a curcumin supplement, whether they think it's for their skin or what it's marketed for, right? The skin, the joints, and they're more anxious. They're not sleeping as well. They have a shorter fuse with their wife or husband. And that's not me saying that, oh my God, I could go much more viral if I was like, this is ruining everyone's, right? But like, we need to be nuanced here, right?
Is
But
pure encapsulation lying to you when they sell you the curcumin brain product? Blah, blah.
God, hey, that'll make my business a lot easier, but I couldn't, right? So leave with science first always. But what's crazy too is, what other supplements do that? Well, resveratrol does that very well. EGCG does that very well. Those three right there are three of the most well-studied polyphenols with regards to skin health, you know? So, of course, it's different if you're doing a liposomal topical, right, versus oral. Oral will do that a lot more to the brain. But that's just an example there, that if someone has lower mood and they don't have low iron or copper and they have some inflammation, I'll recommend curcumin, and it may be perfect. So it's not just maybe not for me specifically, right? So, after working with over 900 people with these protocols, I realized one of the biggest demographics that I help people with are highly sensitive people like myself. So all these, we'll call them microstimulators, right, that I just mentioned, right? There's dozens and dozens and dozens of them. So imagine you're taking curcumin for your joint health. You're taking resveratrol for your mitochondria. You're taking quercetin for your allergies. I'm telling you, Amate, I've done that before I knew what I knew. And I feel, I call it the monkey on your back feeling. Like I'm not panicking per se, but I just feel like I had a little too much coffee, but I didn't have any coffee. It's just that background. I'm trying to relax with my wife at the end of the day. And I just can't, we're trying to watch TV. I can't even connect to the TV show because there's adrenaline, right?
Yeah.
So,
you're watching Dexter and you're like, that's nothing. He probably has too much, he's low on iron. That's what's going on there.
Oh yeah, we got them all mapped out, right? So it's after doing this and trying this program, it's called the Overstimulated Brain Reset. And it's essentially a program built for highly sensitive people by me, a highly sensitive scientist. And what's really fascinating is I pretty much summarize this as there's 4 different gas pedals of the brain. We just covered the first one, which is adrenaline. Some people may have heard of histamine or glutamate or sulfur. These are other neurotransmitter systems in the brain that excite the brain. So there are countless supplements and foods out there that quietly stimulate these. So, and the catch of this is no one's talking about it because where's the randomized control trial where there's only highly sensitive people? Because if you're not highly sensitive, you're not going to notice that. So essentially trying to teach people at scale. And I believe anyone, whether you're highly sensitive, neurodivergent, ADHD, OCD, if you work with people like that, this is something, if you're utilizing supplements and nutrition, you need to understand. It's going to sound crazy, but I've literally had people, get off of their anxiety medications by having less garlic or onions because they're really sensitive to the sulfur. Now, again, I'm not going to go around saying it's the cure-all for everyone's. The question is, which one of your gas pedals are more sensitive? Are you more of a sulfur sensitivity? Glutamate is a lot more OCD, looping, repetitive thought patterns. Histamine is more of a wired but tired feeling. You're not necessarily anxious, you just feel wired. Adrenaline is a lot more of what if that bad thing is going to happen, inner tension, my hands are shaking. So not an adrenaline tool won't work if you have a supplement that raises glutamate. Glutamine is an example of that. So if I have glutamine, my mind will start to loop a bit more. I'll get a little bit of headaches. So I've seen people that are sensitive to that. That's linked to OCD. So if someone with OCD has genetics where they're very sensitive to glutamate, they're taking a glutamine supplement for their gut health, and they don't realize that it's making their mental health worse, right? So to be clear, I'm not saying that you remove the glutamine, they're 100% cured, right? Not, this is all about improving symptoms. But yeah, something I'm really, really excited about, it's pharmacology, it's genetics, personalized health, and psychology together with mental tools as well. Just really, it's essentially what I wish I had throughout my whole life, because I spent 33 years being highly sensitive and not knowing why certain days were so much worse than others.
You know what's interesting is that it's less sexy. Again, as you said, in the beginning, it's less sexy than being sensational or even like giving productive or not specific supplement advice. It's a more of a framework
Well, exactly.
thing.
I word it not as a anxiety program. I frame it as a nervous system literacy program for you
Yeah.
to learn each system and learn, because this is what I've done with people one-on-one, where we look at their genetics, right? That could give a lot of clues what you're sensitive to. And I look and
Hmm.
say, hey, you're really sensitive to glutamate, let's say. I want you to look at your day. Do you have L-glutamine supplements? Do you have a lot of bone broth that's very high in glutamate?
Yeah.
Maybe you have MSG, monosodium glutamate. Now, a lot of people will say MSG doesn't matter. Well, it matters if you are genetically sensitive. But guess what?
Yeah.
When they run the studies, they don't check for that. They put random people in there. So on average, they say you need a lot of mega doses in order to notice anything, right? So
Yeah.
I, high glutamate is linked to epileptic seizures. I've had clients where we connected their seizures to when they had Chinese food that was high in MSG. So you see the patterns here, right? It's like in certain, it's all about figuring out which flavor or cognitive
Yeah.
flavor of anxiety and overthinking do you have. First off, stop pressing on the gas pedal,
Hmm.
right? Then you want to add things in, like an L-theanine supplement will work for glutamate. It's not going to do much for histamine if that's your
Hmm.
problem. This is why people are, I mean, the TikTok shop nowadays, it's take this for your anxiety. Anxiety is vague, right? Or even for skin health.
Yeah.
Skin health is vague. Do you want to
Yeah.
work on the bioenergetics of it? Do you want to work on the inflammatory side? Is it a gut related thing? But it's very hard to get that across in, a 90-second reel, right?
Yeah. And you know what I was getting to before is that for skin health, it's a very not sexy conversation to have. It's like, after sleep, your mental health is probably the biggest driver of skin health,
Hmm.
especially, by
Hmm.
the way, not especially, but even within the confines of just skin slow aging, like how fast you age, is mainly driven obviously by sleep. And way before what you're putting on your skin, it is your ability to, if you want to call it, like clear out catecholamines, or however you want to call that,
Yep.
like
Yep.
the
Yep.
ability to um, experience a restful state.
Yep.
Um, and my question is, like, who should be literate? Is it exactly like being, or not exactly, but is it akin to being right or left-handed, where everyone is going to have a divergence to some type of sensitivity, or you could define people as not sensitive, or obviously, like,
Yeah.
is it a spectrum?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, it's absolutely a spectrum. And, those catecholamines, right? Like, yeah, I love where you can be more specific, right? So the
Yeah.
dopamine, noradrenaline, adrenaline, you know, everyone has genetic factors linked to pretty much everything, meaning
Yeah.
you, me, everyone listening has one genetic variant linked to higher estrogen
Yeah.
and one linked to lower estrogen and one linked to higher. It's all about, we have millions of them, right? So
Yeah.
that's why, you know, with a lot of these genetic tests now, it's like you can't just look at 20
Yeah.
variants, right? You need to look at the overall effect here.
Shout out guests on Joe Rogan that talk about
Oh
five
yeah,
variants.
the five methylation variants, right? That's going to change everything, even though everyone ends up getting the same vitamin. Yeah, won't name names. But the catecholamines, right? A lot of that comes down to either that MAO gene I mentioned earlier
Yeah.
or the COMT gene. Well, guess what? Both of mine are slow. So
Hmm.
those supplements that I mentioned, right? They target that, and if someone is really prone to the overthinking, being very type A, right? I believe that most people can find one or multiple of these systems, right? That they can be sensitive to. Of course, your belief system, your
Hmm.
trauma, right? All these stuff play a role as well, right? So,
Yeah.
like, as much as I'm saying this is a totally new lens, it's not all that matters, of course, right? But I do think that you're absolutely right. How well you clear these things affect your nervous system state. I mean, when you're stressed out, how well are you even absorbing the supplements you take through your gut, right?
Hmm.
We know that that affects stomach acid secretion, all these different
Yeah.
factors that are
Even
required.
blood supply to the stomach. I mean, like it's
Yeah, exactly. You're
yeah,
going to divert it to your muscles, right, for the
yeah.
fight or flight.
Hmm.
So, you know, it's just it's like this almost hidden world, this invisible world of supplement interactions and stimulators that, again, it's for most people, maybe not most people, for a lot of people, they may not be so if you're not super sensitive to adrenaline, then you may not really be noticing these things, right? So it's would every single person have some sort of sensitivity? I think I don't think every single person does. Some people are very, very type B, right? They
Yeah.
take whatever supplement, they don't really feel much, you know? But again, most of the people that come to work with me after working with countless functional medicine, naturopaths, this, that, for these supplements, they can't tolerate things and they're so curious about their health. Well, what makes you really curious about your health? It's usually higher dopamine levels. And
Hmm.
back to the catecholamines. So it's
Hmm.
pretty interesting too. People that they've done studies on this, people that break down catecholamines slower, they're more likely to be in the creative arts.
Hmm.
But if you break them down faster, you're more likely to be in things like MMA, right?
Yeah.
Because you could handle that pressure,
Yeah.
right? So it's like I mean, think about like LeBron James hitting a buzzer beater in game 7, right? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
his genetics, not a client of mine, right? But it's
Yeah.
like, I wonder, it just makes sense to me that he probably has the more normal breakdown. So when it's
Hmm.
game time, if I was in the game, I would be like all shaking and worried I'm going to mess something up. But you can't be like that, right? To be an elite champion like that,
Yeah.
right? So that's where it all comes. It just fascinates me. Genetics, behavior. You think about like the sensitive artist, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of known a lot of artists could be like, very sensitive or have mood related issues. And the way I view it is really good artists, whether it's visual, musical, whatever it is, they essentially can alchemize their own feelings and pain and sorrows into art that helps the rest of the world, feel and connect to themselves.
Yeah.
And so they're wearing their nervous system. It's like their nervous system skin is that much thinner. They feel things
Yeah.
so much more deeply. And again, these are the exact types of people that I really encourage to. We'll put information about the webinar I'll be having. Just come and at least check it out and the
Yeah.
content I make, around this.
Yeah. First of all, it's very interesting. I'm racking my brain. It's a podcast I listened to recently, and the person said it's not that I'm not afraid. I don't mind being afraid. Like it's not a deterrent. Oh, it's actually what's the Mission Impossible guy, the
Tom Cruise?
Scientologist,
Oh, not the actor.
the actor,
Tom
the
Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tom
Oh, he's
Cruise.
Scientologist? I didn't know that.
He's like the symbol of Scientology.
Oh, is he? I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not into that. So yeah, I wouldn't know. But got it.
When you live in Florida, you know. Anyway, so Tom Cruise, they interviewed him, about many things like why does he make the decisions he makes about like um doing all the stunts, etc. He said basically like it's not that I'm not afraid, I just don't mind being afraid. It's not a big deterrent for me. So we would assume that this person has a very fast clearance of catecholamines,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, I would think so. Of course, it's also comes down to like the nurture aspect of being
Yeah.
upbringing as well, right? Like really fascinated too with just even parenting styles, right? Like I see some content where it's like, what you shouldn't do, like
Mm-hmm.
when your kid knocks over a glass of water or something. If
Mm-hmm.
you, the parent, goes, oh my God, like, if you are,
Yeah.
making a big deal out of that, right? Like that's going to be signaling to the child that, like it's not
Yeah.
okay to do that, right? Meanwhile, there's a way you can do it where you can say, oh, that's okay. We'll clean, and like not instill that fearful component, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, at first glance, it does sound like that because, all entrepreneurs have that fear, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, it's being able to push through it, but you can have an external thing in life that's maybe a 3 out of 10 stressor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't clear catecholamines as well, you actually feel that like an 8 or 9 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Then imagine if I took a green tea extract or a curcumin or rhodiola rosea.
Yeah.
Now that fear, now I'm at an 11, right? So you see how people day to day, it's like, is your week that much worse? Or did you try a new supplement to help your mitochondria
Yeah.
that's also raising your adrenaline? But people don't connect these. They just believe whatever thoughts they're hearing. But it's
Mm-hmm.
all about understanding and pausing. If you're taking multiple supplements, you need to understand which of these are stimulants. But the problem is, right, we hear stimulants, we just think of caffeine,
Yeah. We think
Adderall,
of
so
bodily stimulants.
yeah, like the actual pharmaceutical ones,
Yeah.
right? But again, when we widen the scope to anything that raises catecholamines, we literally have data that dozens, if not hundreds of natural supplements do that, but
Mm-hmm.
they help with gut health, they help with inflammation. So it really, that's why helping people to understand these things, I feel, is so important to me, because just as you mentioned, sleep and then mental health, right? I mean, if you don't have good sleep, you're not going to have good mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so passionate about mental health because my struggles with my anxiety, overthinking, but also not that it's all that matters, but it's you can be healthy by normal standards, but be in your own mind all the time.
Yeah.
And then that you're depleting more minerals, that chronic cortisol, like you can have so much more suffering in your life. And if
Mm-hmm.
I could help someone, it's not just taking the right supplements, removing the wrong ones for your sensitive body. You can get someone feeling, I don't know, 30, 40% less stressed, like
Mm-hmm.
overnight, by just not taking that thing. But again, what company is going to put this raises catecholamines on the bottle,
Well,
And
yeah.
it's
Well, I'll tell you a few things that come to mind. First is that you said about nature versus nurture. You're going to be able to speak to this way better than I would, but our brain has a completely different system, the operating system, or escalation system, if you would. If we perceive the stressor as something that we've entered willingly or is forced upon us, it's like it could be a completely different cycle in the brain. So of course, like the Tom
Mhm.
Cruise example, it might be that for him, it is, it's just a pure choice, and then it just doesn't go through. It is processed completely differently. Um, and when you said, I think a lot of when you said that a stressor could be perceived as an 11 because of a few supplements. Not only is that true, it's if we step to the mental aspect of it for a second and not the chemical aspect. um, Anyone who has done in hard things that are endurance related knows that it is not the actual difficulty of the task that is going to make you break or quit. It is the brain's perception of how long it's going to have to endure the same amount of
Mhm.
hardship. Meaning everyone quits. The famous saying about Navy SEALs is that they figured people quit at about a 40% of their maximal capacity. And the reason is because your brain says, I foresee this type of hardship to be in the future more than I can withstand, and I'm going to save on resources now.
Mm,
So
mhm.
that 7 plus the inability to manage that 7 for a longer period of time, or now you've prolonged the amount of time you have to withstand that 7 out of 10 is actually is what raises it to 11. It's not that it's just the length of that. It's like the inability to clear that, and it becomes conditioned. I remember the first time I took Adderall, not Adderall, back then it was something else. I mean, it was maybe
Dexedrine, maybe?
yeah, like
That
I was
sound familiar?
15 years old. Ritalin.
Yeah. Ritalin, got it. Yep, yeah.
And I, my brain was anticipating the inability to focus. I remember that, math, loved math, always loved math. And my brain's like, and we're going to, hey, I can still concentrate. Obviously, I wanted to be as big, as strong as I could, and it suppressed my appetite. So that was more important to me, and I didn't take it for long.
Yeah,
But that is definitely something that I remember very vividly, where I understood a lot of it is preconditioning.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned. Well, back to the Tom Cruise thing. One thing I'm thinking too. I wonder.
That's going to be the title of the episode.
So, like, I wonder the fear stuff. Like, I wonder if he was truly always okay with the fear, or it's pretty easy to say once you hit it big in Hollywood that nothing makes you afraid anymore. That's one other angle of that, right? I'd be curious. But what you mentioned about, persevering, right? And like pushing through stressors, right? So, that monkey on your back feeling I was mentioning, right? One of the most important things when I work with anxious people is, again, being able to identify, because there's physiological anxiety. I like to call that stress. Then there's psychological anxiety. Now, people use stress and anxiety interchangeably, but I like breaking up the two. Stress is just a noisy nervous system. You're stimulated, but there's no fear component. Anxiety is when that morphs into a negative fear usually about the future.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll give you an example. Like, you're at a loud concert with your friends, and it's just really loud, it's really bright, and you just feel like, oh my, I feel like I need to go take a breather, right? Or like, I need to go get a drink. Like, I just feel like you're not like freaking out, but you just feel that noise. Then anxiety would be, you're there, but you're worried about a deadline for work. So you see, but the interesting part here is that the physiological stress, right? That monkey on your back feeling. If you're a sensitive person and you take some of these supplements and you're activated, if you don't understand what's causing what, after a certain amount of time, your brain, there's this feeling, your brain will go into your subconscious and try to find a narrative or story to explain the feeling. So now, initially, you were just activated, not fearful about anything, not mad about anything. And then after a couple of hours you keep taking the supplement, days go on. Eventually, now you're connecting it to like, I can't believe my friend didn't reach out to me. Or, you have that adrenaline feeling like, oh, like this might be about that deadline I have coming up. Or, oh, like I'm gonna be seeing my friend I haven't seen in a while, right? So you see how these seemingly minor things can very easily snowball. Because it's like you could have, let's just say if you were, back to the trauma side, like let's just say if you were attacked by a dog when you were a child, and if you're around dogs that are barking, it rattles you, right? Because it reminds you of that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that avoiding these supplements will cure that, right? That's a therapy thing, right? But imagine if you knew you were going to be around some dogs later that day. And imagine, I'll just use the green tea curcumin example again, right? You probably shouldn't take those supplements that day, because guess what? Any little spike of adrenaline that your brain squirts out, it's going to get trapped there, right? So it's not that these are causing the trauma is what's making you respond initially, but then these could snowball, right? So this is why, like, I teach people about proper usage of the supplements, because I don't hear people saying, oh, here's a day where you probably shouldn't take a certain supplement, even
Yeah.
though it's marketed for your joint health or something,
Hmm.
right? Because understanding your own body, like really understanding yourself, and then maybe you want to do breath work or something before you go into the house with the dog. Or
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. I had a client that was doing breath work, trying to meditate midday at work every day. She's a coach and it was just overstimulated midday, wasn't working. And turns out she was having an alpha lipoic acid supplement for her
Hmm.
mitochondria. That's very rich in sulfur. We removed
Yeah.
that. The next day she emailed me, "Oh my God, Tyler, I could cry. Like I could drop into my meditation so easily." And I actually realized I didn't even really need the meditation so direly anymore, because the
Yeah.
reason why she felt like she had to meditate was, again, because of the supplement. So how many people are trying to do the breath work, the yoga, and they're trying to calm themselves down and it's not working because it's not a mental psychological thing. It's a biochemical thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I think you just made someone stop meditating, but whatever. Yeah, sure.
Well,
Uh,
meditation's great for a lot of other reasons, right? But again, it's like you don't want to try and you don't want to try to use like a mind tool for a body problem, right?
yeah,
Like you want to try and the right tool for the right scenario.
for sure, for sure. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
What would you say if someone's skin isn't responding to their routine? What's the first thing you'd tell them to look for?
I think gut. Pretty
Yeah,
much. Yeah, the guts. Well, I guess are we talking about more like anti-wrinkle, anti-aging or
yeah.
more of like the okay, yeah.
I think they can be connected. I think many times they're
Yeah,
connected,
definitely
but
can be connected. I didn't know if I initially heard that and I thought more on the acne side of stuff, and that would
yeah.
be more of like a gut related thing. But if someone
Hmm.
has clear skin itself and, whether it's wrinkle, anti-aging, something I see a lot is just making sure the products, quality products that are stored properly, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen a lot of people with the vitamin C serums, right? That
Hmm.
those are the pH is very, very important, and the pH, the stability, the oxidation risk, right? So you got that bottle. Is it in a dark, light protected
Yeah.
bottle, right? That's really, really important. Those oxidation products are not biologically active, right?
Yes. You know what I tell many people. Yeah, NMN is so common right now,
Mhm.
and people don't understand. It's like it degrades, just degrades over time. And I tell
Yeah.
people like pop your little capsule and like taste it. Within 3 months, you're gonna taste a much more sour taste, which means it's basically niacinamide. You're basically
Mhm.
paying 10 times more for the same product. So store it
Yeah.
in the freezer or
Well, any of the
whatever.
niacinamide, I know people do those in skin products as well, but that enzyme, right, that's really
Hmm.
converting that niacinamide, that decreases as we age as well. And I like on the genetic side, we can see how well that's working at the base genetic level. So can figure out that enzyme may be hardwired to not work as well for you. And then
Yeah.
niacinamide, I mean, there's other benefits other than just NAD for that, right? But
Hmm.
some people will say, "Oh, just take niacinamide, save your money on the NMN and stuff." And sure, that could make sense if you aren't old, right? If you're
Yeah.
not aged, and if your genetics kind of, permit that. Um,
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I'm sure you'll agree with this. I think when it comes to the aging of the skin, I think a lot of it is the ideal way I think is more so to prevent the degradation rather than trying to promote the buildup,
Yeah.
far after the fact. Because,
Yeah.
if you have a 40-year-old that's been using proper sunscreen, and hey, I'm all for controlled sun exposure, right? Like I don't think we should
Yeah.
be fearing the sun. We should be fearing sunburn, right? Like it's getting
Yeah.
nice here in New York. And I went out unprotected for like 20 minutes, right? But the low dosage to work up, but you don't want to be cooking yourself. But the the person that does that versus the 40-year-old that starts dropping $1,000 a month on their skincare routine.
Yeah.
Who's going to end up ahead, right?
Yeah, I agree. First of all, I think the sun, just in our community, the sun conversation is not. It's first of all, there's no one gives place for nuance. Like your dermatologist
It's
is
not
going to have a
sexy.
hit is going to have a hissy fit if you tell them anything about sun exposure. And the person that speaks about sun callus, doesn't exist, by the way, but like a sun callus is going
Well,
to.
I've honestly never heard that term before.
Oh, you're
What is
not.
that?
So you're not, dude. You're not praying at the right altar, I guess. Sun callus is the notion that you are able to change your epigenetics in a way where you're not experiencing DNA damage from being exposed to the sun.
Hmm.
And some of it I will grant, like very slowly, you could expose yourself to, early in the day or late in the day sun, and very slowly, like, have more pigment in your skin.
Yeah.
But it's limited. It's definitely.
Are they saying that can be even independent to
Yes.
melanin content? So even
Yes. Yes.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
See, that at first glance that doesn't make any sense to
Mm,
me. That I mean, I think that could be a very minor protective effect, but I'm sure the people you're talking about are probably acting as if like you could just be
yes.
pretty much immune
Yes.
to that and do whatever you want.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's, first of all, like, if we're just going out like off of first principles, you are gonna, even if you've achieved that fabled sun callus, I would say, first of all, you're going to experience a lot of DNA damage in the interim.
Yep.
And the question is, if we're hyper focused on like looking good as far as like your facial skin is concerned, how about you expose areas that are less exposed day to day, which actually means that they need more sun. They can convert it to vitamin D3 better. That's why they're
Yep.
lighter in
Yep.
color.
Yep.
And you're not gonna, your wrinkles around your belly button are gonna be significantly less. No one gets Botox on their belly button, or if they do, I've never heard of it. Right? Like,
Yeah.
facial wrinkling, it's like, put sunscreen on your face. But back to the nuance, like, there is no nuance, and I think many things could be said in between. There are companies that are coming out with supplements that supposed to help you experience less sun damage. Obviously through things like astaxanthin or lycopenes or other things that are
Yeah, I was gonna say
antioxidants.
pignogenol is another one as well. I've
Yeah.
kind of looked into that a bit as well there. And just to, I think that's a good opportunity for me to say like what we kind of touched on, I call the iceberg effect of natural supplements. We talked
Hmm.
about the polyphenols, what they can do,
Hmm.
right? Astaxanthin, very great antioxidant, right? But it's
Hmm.
how much antioxidant capabilities do you really need,
Yeah.
right? Like, how old are you? What are your
Hmm.
genetics like for your mitochondria, for those superoxide dismutase
Yeah.
enzymes, right? Now, we use oxidation to also break down dopamine.
Hmm.
So, something I noticed with myself, and after I noticed that I started seeing this pattern in some of my more sensitive clients, is astaxanthin. It mops up all the reactive oxygen species, which can be good. But in order to focus, we have our tonic or baseline dopamine and
Hmm.
our phasic dopamine. So you need to have a difference. So
Yeah.
if your baseline, it spikes up, now you feel that contrast, you feel
Hmm.
interested. Well, we break down dopamine with oxidation.
Hmm.
So some people, I've realized, they're taking the astaxanthin. I'm one of them. Most of them recommend 12 milligrams for astaxanthin.
Yeah.
I can't go over 4 milligrams
Yeah.
for more than a week or two. I need to space it out. Otherwise, I feel kind of emotionally flat, blah, and can't really focus as well. Right. So again, it's like all this great data for photo aging, right? But it's like there's always that other, like we mentioned, trade-offs initially to be
Yeah.
understanding these things, right?
If you wanna supersize it, I mean, you could talk. People who are taking methylene blue are and SSRIs are actually putting themselves in danger.
Well, I can that is again that's one of those MAOA inhibitors,
Yeah.
right? So it's like that one is very on the rank of what we were talking about, right? We have the curcumin,
Hmm.
resveratrol,
Yeah.
they all do this that same mechanism as methylene blue, just not as potently,
Yeah.
right? So you have methylene blue, you have Syrian rue. That's the plant they use for ayahuasca because
Hmm.
that is a very, very strong inhibitor as well. The Syrian rue and methylene blue, those are so powerful at blocking, trapping those neurotransmitters in the brain that doctors actually know, okay, like you could really mess yourselves up,
Yeah.
right? But you see, where my mind goes with these things is, okay, a certain dosage of methylene blue, let's just say it blocks it this much.
Hmm.
Well, if you're taking curcumin, resveratrol, they all stack up.
Hmm.
So I've seen this in people taking the SS. They feel weird. They feel kind of sick. We remove the supplements. They feel better, right? But you see, it's like it's such this nuanced, again, this kind of invisible land of
Hmm.
supplement interactions, right? Then to compound that, now we're making all of these liposomal forms. Supplement science is really advancing,
Yeah.
and we're getting so much more of these actives into circulation, into the cells, that
Hmm.
now you think you're getting 5,000% more anti-inflammatory effects of the curcumin. Well, guess what? You're going to get 5,000% more of the serotonin raising effects as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how many weak MAO inhibitors do you need to equal a methylene blue? And
Hmm.
no, we know no one's going to fund that study, right? But it's
No.
like people are taking one supplement from a TikToker they found, one from a podcast. Now they have 9 new supplements
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
playing with fire there, right? Sorry to cut you off with the detour on the methylene blue there, but
No.
yeah,
Awesome.
that
I
one
mean,
really can really cause damage for sure.
yeah. Um, for sure. And by the way, um, that is why we have a lot of conversations around methylene blue as well, but around whether it is curcumin, resveratrol, NMN. Um, not, we can talk about niacinamide in a second, but these are ingredients that you cannot say, oh, I'm taking them systemically, therefore I don't need them topically. The
Yeah.
opportunity to apply them topically without getting the systemic effects, you know, almost those dosages whatsoever
Hmm.
is actually huge. The surface area of the skin is huge. You would need so much material, such high dose to
Yeah.
achieve what you can achieve topically that you are gonna sensitize other things or you're gonna affect
Well,
other
there's
things.
even also even the enzymatic machinery is
Hmm.
different superficially and
Oh
topically as
yeah. Oh
well,
yeah. By
right?
the way,
Uh, yeah, I think it's that
NAMPT.
NAMPT
Yeah.
enzyme, right? Like that. So that's it's in the skin, but as it's not expressed as highly, right? So it's like again, not only are you not getting as much niacinamide there, but the fundamental machinery, right, that's actually converting it into that real bioenergetic, NMN,
Hmm.
NAD, right? It's going to be different.
Not
I mean,
only
same with
that.
the creatine stuff. I'm sure you read up on the
Oh yes,
topical creatine.
that was my next that
Yeah,
was my
yeah,
next point.
yeah,
But just for niacinamide specifically, not only the NAMPT, which is I call it like the toll booth dilemma. Like it's not
yep.
about how many cars you can pass through. There's a toll booth that you need to stop at and get conversion happen for it to become an active ingredient. Um, Not only that, even you, you- assume you've achieved high levels of niacinamide and you're saying, okay, I have, I'm patient basically. They're going to go through the toll booth one at a time, and eventually I'm going to have high levels of NAD, which is what we want to achieve for the most part. The backup, the toll booth could actually also signal the reduction of activities of other enzymes like SIRT1 specifically, or PARPs, which are what are called like NAD plus minus dependent enzymes. It means like your body is saying, oh my God, niacinamide, the material that is left at the end of my usage of NAD, I have so much of it. I need to chill the F out with using those enzymes. I've used so much of them, and that's why I have a lot of niacinamide. I'm going to deprioritize DNA maintenance and repair.
Yep.
So you are at two places you're actually kind of messing up that anti-aging, whatever, longevity pathway system. Highway system.
Yeah, I mean, there's the toll booth side. Yeah, there's that degradation side as well, right? Yeah. Like I'm really, like, when I do NMN, like I do maybe 100 milligrams because again, I feel it, stimulation wise for me. People say it's not a full clinic. I'm like, listen, I'm not even taking that so much. I'm 33. I'm not even taking it so much because my levels are low. I just there's multiple different things I'll rotate, right, to kind of biohack different mood, this, that. Around 100 milligrams, 50 to 100 milligrams of good NMN is one of those. But, something else I realize I feel a bit better on, I've seen this with sensitive people, is, how are you breaking down the NAD, right? So like CD38 is really important for that. And we know things like apigenin is a CD38 inhibitor. 5-amino-1-MQ, that's a peptide that could do that a bit more strongly.
Also increases the toll booths, if you would.
Yeah, the 5-amino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting both ends there, right? Because it's not everybody. There's different ways to skin the cat, and this is why we need to be important understanding mechanisms. And it's like, I've seen some people, they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing NMN, NAD, and 5-amino, and I'm like, do you need all of that? Because this does affect that methylation system, right? It consumes methylation requirements. So people can be under-methylating. They're using up so many of these things. That's why, a lot of these NAD brands now, they're starting to use things like trimethylglycine, betine in there to try and help counteract that. You need to be mindful of where you're at, right? And especially when you're doing these, these higher doses, these longevity pushes.
Yeah, that's what, by the way, I think that's a huge part of the newly found, affection to TMG, trimethylglycine. I think it's the balancing of methyl donors.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No. That's it. It's funny that people are rediscovering
it's funny. It. Well, it's funny too that that's one of the most wrongly utilized supplements I've seen, because people hear trimethylglycine, they think methylation, longevity. But when people hear betine, they think stomach acid support, digestion. They're the same exact molecule. So they just attach betine or trimethylglycine to a hydrochloric acid molecule, and then that's sold as digestive support. So people will be taking a gram or two of betine per meal. So they're getting these grams dosages. And we were talking about how having too much NAD boosters, that can be leading to undermethylation, right? So you're raising your homocysteine levels. That's why you want to add betine in to manage it. Well, what if you're popping these betine pills like candy? The bottle doesn't even say it's for methylation. It just says it's for digestive support, because it has that hydrochloric acid. Exactly. So now you're over methylating. You're pushing it too far that way. That's one of the most common things I see people make. I mean, gut health is one of the top things people struggle with. They want that hydrochloric acid molecule, right? And they don't realize that it also affects methylation. So it's just, again, it all comes down to perspective. You may think you're taking it for mitochondria and gut health. Someone else may view it as, iron issues or cognitive health, right? But me as a pharmacologist, I just try to help people see all of those perspectives, right? And
Yeah.
of course, it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of different things, but nowadays with AI and everything, I mean, ask for a supplement you're going to get. I recommend people like don't take everything perfectly as gospel. I don't mean give it your full stack and tell me if this is good for me.
Yeah.
Ingredient by ingredient, what are the molecular mechanisms? How does this supplement work in the human body? And what could maybe be some potential side effects to at least
Yeah.
understand, oh, wow, that curcumin can lower iron. I'm low on iron, or I've been taking it when I have my ground beef in the morning or something,
Yeah.
right? So I'm shooting myself in the foot.
So, Tyler, I really want to go over testing, but could you please, like, because I'm a babbler, so could you please, like, in 2 seconds touch on creatine and skin? We're coming out. We've worked for 4 years trying to get creatine not to convert to creatinine with different
Mhm, mhm.
encapsulations, um, and nanosize it so it could absorb into the skin. And we're coming out with a product probably pretty soon, actually, that has it. It's like mitochondria specific. But could you alluded to creatine um, repletion and its benefits to skin. So could you please
Yeah.
touch on it for 1 second, and then
Yeah.
I want to make sure I cover some of my questions about testing.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, creatine, there was one study that I'm familiar with that they were checking in the jowl area in older
Yeah.
individuals to kind of help tighten up the skin. And I view it somewhat similarly as the whole NAD side of stuff, right? It's
Hmm.
more on the bioenergetic
Yeah.
side of things, right? And aging skin. I think most of health comes down to mitochondria at the end of the
Hmm.
day,
Yeah.
right? So that's why, and it's, you know, creatine actually uses up roughly 50% of our body's overall methylation capacity. So
Hmm.
it is a massive driver or consumer of methylation. So my
Yeah.
point is, right, like there's not a study exactly assessing this, but intuitively here, you're overdoing those NAD boosters. You may be stealing some of that methylation capacity
Hmm.
for your own endogenous creatine production,
And
right?
creatine is like the most important thing in order to donate phosphorus and like to replenish that system,
So
the
much more
NAD
than a
system.
bro science, like muscle building
Yeah.
supplement. So much more, more
Yeah.
than that. But yeah, there was that one study. Now, and that's a really good point you brought up, right? The breakdown, the
Hmm.
delivery, of course, right? But you can have the best delivery system. You want to make sure you still have the proper active by the
Hmm.
time it gets transported, stored on a shelf, shipped out to someone, and someone
Yeah.
finishes the whole bottle.
Yes. That's, by the way, just like the one anecdote. That's why there's so much talk around creatine gummies. It's because they are first
Yeah.
liquid and then they're formed into your favorite gummy supplements. So when they're in liquid form, they degrade to mostly to creatinine. There's some of it that degrades to the creatinine. Then they test 5 milligrams creatine gummies, and they have like
Yeah.
1 or 2 or whatever. But my question, I that's something I'm very interested in, as far as like, where are you now? As first of all, as far as testing. So you said, people might be sensitive, they might react to different things. So yes, you could do genetic testing, and that could allude to potential issues. But you've also mentioned we have so many switches that some switches could be on, some are off. So is there, where are we as far as like continuous testing and inference out of that? And where are we, where where are we in the future as far as like omics, different omics
Yeah.
tests, or how
I'm
would
glad you
that
mentioned that.
make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So genetics, right? Genomics, right? Like that. This is just one of many of the omics. We'll dive into a few of them, and it's just been the one that's been the most tried and true. It's like the longest standing, right? So
Hmm.
we have the most data around it. We know genetics absolutely play a role in health. We have decades of literature around that, right? But as you
Yeah.
were mentioning, how are we turning the genes on and off? As we age, the age-related changes that happen, our genetics don't change. If your genetics change, that's the beginning of cancer, right? Like, so that's your genetic, but how you
Yeah.
are expressing these genes change. So, sometimes people will ask me, epigenetics have been much hotter, lately because they're
Mm-hmm.
newer. People will say, all right, well then, if you don't even know if the gene is on or off, why even get genetic tested, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you need to understand it's not like your cells just turn off all of a gene, right? Like
Yeah.
your cells could never turn off the gene that converts vitamin D into the proper form. Like
Yeah.
your cells need that, right? But for example, when you get vitamin D from supplements or sunlight or foods, it turns on. You make more of the genes that make serotonin and dopamine. So that's why seasonal depression is a thing.
Yeah.
But as a geneticist, that protein, that enzyme, that workhorse that's converting the vitamin D, sure, you can make more of them. But if you have 5, 6 plus genetic variants in that gene, it depends. If you have 1 or 2, then you can upregulate it and you get enough workers,
Yeah.
right? So instead of your worker working an 8-hour shift to convert the vitamin D, it works a 6.5, 7-hour shift. All right.
Who cares if he's drunk during the 6 hours? At least he works,
Well, hey, I mean, you can look, well, yeah, you can look at it either they're working a smaller shift or they're drunk on the job. Either way, they're not doing as much as they should be doing.
Yeah.
But if you have, 6 or 8 variants in that gene, that
That's
worker's pissed drunk, barely getting
that
anything
worker
done.
that worker has some bad habits.
Exactly. Bad habits. And this is why it doesn't matter if you have a variant. It's how many do you
Yeah.
have. So I've worked with people that are surfers. They're in all the time. They're in the sun. Their vitamin D levels don't really budge on blood work
Yeah.
because of that, right? So that's the epigenetics. That's transcriptomics. You can
Yes.
measure how much of the mRNA of the next stage of the instructions are made.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have proteomics. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how much proteins are being made.
Mm-hmm.
Then that
By
flows
the way,
into
just like a layman reference, that's most of the peptides people are using. That's the system they're connecting to.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. And then there's the metabolomics, how you're metabolizing these different things. That's a really, really accurate,
Yeah.
snapshot, right, of these actual metabolites. Because again, if you're converting A into B, you can check the genetics of the worker. You can see how much of the worker you're making, but you really, at the end of the day, you really want to see how much of B you have, right? Because
Yeah.
that's really what's really, really mattering here. You also have things like microbiomics. So the microbiome, right? What types of gut bacteria you're having. A newer field is exposomics. So
Yeah.
what are the omics of what you're exposed to?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the board of American Precision Medicine for functional genomics and pharmacology, and that's where our mission is, bringing together all these omics under one roof. So there are
Yeah.
some companies that do just transcriptomics, 1,000,001 doing genetics, right? But the future that I'm so excited for, it's gonna be all these like layers of a book that are all layering
Yes.
on top of each other with AI, because it's an immense amount of data to really help drive,
Yes.
those personalized responses. It's just going to take a while. I mean, I think it's a Futurome, is a company. They do direct to consumer multi-omics testing. The only one that I've
Mm-hmm.
seen. It is not cheap remotely, as you could probably assume. It's all these things on top of each other, right?
Yeah.
But that's the first that I've seen that's doing that direct to consumer. But I kind of view it how, genetic testing used to be what, $1,000, $2,000.
Yeah.
Now the test itself for genetics, the test itself is maybe $150, $200, right? Then the company's got to make money, right? You got to
Yeah.
figure out, because it's a one and done test, all those things. But I think years down the road, all the testing, once the AI's ironed out, once they figure out, I don't know, the token usage, I don't know how they're going to do all that stuff, right? But once
Mm-hmm.
that comes in a reasonable range for most people, I don't know the exact time frame. I don't know, maybe 5, 10 years, but that'll kind of be where genetics is now, where you have
Yeah.
all of these things layered on top of each other. And it could be
Y-
really cool doing organ-specific things as well. So what if you get something from the skin, versus the liver versus the blood? So really exciting stuff on the horizon.
Well, to your point, first of all, I really liken it to what Uber is now, where you could buy, you could buy alcohol, a taco, and bananas at the same app, right? It provides you and get a ride, right, at the same app. And it's all kind of a central hub that makes it very accessible. And way back when, you needed to take a taxi in order to buy your bananas and another taxi to buy something else, or take your car, obviously.
Yep.
And there are companies, for example, like Heads Up Health, where they're gonna try to connect everything together and from all your tests and give you a good read on what you're doing. There are companies that start that are leading you through that, like Self-Decode.
Yep.
But I think, I agree with
they're who I use, for my genetic testing, and they've been great. They're very, very comprehensive, but it's, again, it's, we kind of mentioned the one extreme of the testing where people on Joe Rogan, it's a 5-gene test, which is nothing.
Yeah.
Self-Decode is the other end where I love them. They're so cutting edge, but it's hundreds of reports, right?
Yes.
So that's what, I hand make my reports right now. It's not the most scalable thing, but how do you find the proper depth, what's really important, without just giving a fraction of that information, right?
Yeah.
So I just want Self-Decode, they're great, but again, that's just going to be one layer, stacking up on these over time.
By the way, to your point about cost, we have we've designed a test together with Theriome, which are...
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. Yep.
Yeah. Dr. Panise Josby was here on the podcast. So they have a few omics tests. We use the metabolomics test. And the less metabolites you're testing, the more accurate you are within that parameter. So we're only testing ones that are related to your skin, or more specifically your integumentary system. But it's been very difficult to tell practitioners, because it's only through practitioners. It was very difficult to tell them, hey, it's not only recommending like Yangu's product. That's not why you're doing this test. The test is the idea to say, hey, if you want like quicker results, this is how you plug in gaps as far as like skincare, but you really should be recommending lifestyle changes because of that. And the cost is very high. Like right now we sell it at cost. Again, like practitioner needs to make some money at the end of the day, but we don't make money out of it. We just want to get as many people tested as possible, so that costs lowered dramatically.
And building their models too. Panise is on the board as well that I mentioned, and
shout out to Panise.
Shout out to Panise. I've interacted with them 2 or 3 times, and it's also building models to make things better as well. It's bringing the cost down, but also improving the quality of the work or of the product or the insights.
Okay. Listen, we're over time. We have too much fun talking.
Yeah.
But this has been fantastic. How can people, first of all, mention your incredible online Instagram, etc. Information that you share, but also how can people work with you one-on-one? How can they join the webinar? Everything's going to be in the show notes, but share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So at Dr. Tyler Panzner, I'm pretty much on all the different socials. I do one-on-one, genetic-based things, looking at labs, blood work, and working from people that are high-level entrepreneurs that just really want to dial in their focus, to people that have mysterious health issues that doctors, can't really figure out. So I like to say, if you have human cells and you're open to supplementation, I think I could add value, because my perspective is trying to find the biggest genetic weak points. And as we discussed, a lot of things that could go wrong with supplements. Yeah. People come to me taking all these supplements and really making people feel better just by removing the wrong things and getting a truly comprehensive, I don't even want to say blueprint, because all these genetic companies say the word blueprint, but all these blueprints, they don't focus on what's not good for you. It's trying to just
Yeah.
highlight, I want to let you know this could be good, but it might lower your blood pressure. So if you get a headache, that's why, right?
Yeah.
I have that program, there'll be a webinar coming out in, I think, around 2 weeks or so. Really excited for that. And yeah, just really looking forward to educating people, again, being totally unbiased here and just helping people make more informed decisions because everyone is so overwhelmed with all this
Yeah.
contradictory health information. And
Yes. Yes. No, that's kind of what excited me about speaking with you in the first place. I think the more money flows into the field, the people who are aiming to do good are being tested. I mean, we're being tested when like a big VC wants to buy us, or people are being tested when, Nestle or whoever is trying to give them a lot of money to mention an ingredient online when the data is not really that great. And I think it's very important to platform and to support people who are well-intentioned and well-informed. Well-intentioned is maybe easier to find than both.
yeah.
Anyway, Tyler, thank you very much. It was fantastic. We are definitely going to work on getting you here again. Maybe it's not going to take a year this time.
Yeah,
And,
no, we'll definitely make it happen. And yeah, we could that ADHD, right? We could yap
yeah,
on forever.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, we could go down plenty of more rabbit
yeah.
holes. Here to help however I can. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.